his hands, which is quite rare in the world of chess, where everyone likes to adjust with one hand. Vishy waits for his opponent. He's taking on the amazing Levon Aronian. Aronian comes in, also places his jacket on the chair, starts the clock, and off we go. Vishy plays 1 e4, and Levon responds with the Sicilian. Knight to f3, pawn up to d6. Is it going to be a Najdorf? Pawn takes, knight takes the pawn, and Levon plays knight f6. Now playing sharp lines against Vishy is always dangerous, but Levon does it because Vishy is so well prepared. But now, is Vishy as well prepared as he was back in the day when he was right at the top? Let's see. Knight to b3. And Levon trying to decide what would be his next move here. Bishop e6 played. And now Anand places his bishop on e3. A typical idea to play queen d2 and put your king on c1, long castle. Bishop comes out to e7. And Vishy now goes queen d2. This is going to be an exciting game because black is going to go short castles while white is going to go long castles. That's what Levon does and exactly what Vishy does. Now, black is going to start his play on the queen side with b5, b4. And white is going to play with g5, g4, g5. Let's see what Vishy does here. Yes, he goes pawn up to g4. And now Levon must also start his play. He also plays b5. The most common move here is g5. And is Anand going to play that? No, he goes rook g1. Now this is an innovation that Vishy himself had played back in the day in 2006 with Morozevich, with Van Velde in 2007. So he knows all about it. Rook g1 is kind of a waiting move there. Knight comes to a5. And now looking at the c6 square, a useful waiting move on the g file, it can open up someday. Queen to c7, stopping knight c6. And I think Vishy now can push his pawn to g5. Is he going to do that? Yes, he does. Pawn up to g5. Nice little move there. And what is Levon going to play here? Yes, knight to h5. That's a good square for the knight. And white has to decide now how to continue. Because this bishop needs to develop. But Vishy says, that's something that I'll do later. He first puts his knight on d5. Knight takes. Pawn takes, attacks the bishop. A common idea is to go bishop f5. The bishop is well placed there. But then the knight could settle down on the c6 square, and that's the reason why Levon goes back to d7. The way in which the pieces are placed on the king side, it's not so easy to start rolling your pawns, especially with this knight on h5. So Vishy goes king b1, and now notice this plan. What is he planning? He's planning to actually break open the position with c4. So Levon goes g6. Maybe at some point he wants the knight to come back into the game via g7, or maybe he wants to even break with f6. But Vishy goes and plays on the queen side. This is the thing with top players. They can play on the entire board, be it on the king side or the queen side. Now pawn to c4 is a nice move. Levon brings his rook to c8, trying to put pressure down the c file. Also at some point bishop f5 check can come in, but the king will tuck itself in on the a1 square where it will be very safe. Rook comes to c1. Notice how this knight is actually clogging everything up on the queen side. Now Levon, after great thought, pushes his pawn to b4, and you can see there Vishy just adjusts himself in the chair. He knows this is a free pawn, but what is up on Levon's mind is the question. Why is he giving him a free pawn? Well, he takes it, and Levon shows his hand. He plays bishop d8, attacking the knight. The knight has to move back, and then the pawn pushes forward, first hitting the queen, then hitting the knight, and I think that is what Levon Aronian wants. But Vishy has to now play his knight back, and he's thinking a bit, and he does it. Knight comes to b3, pawn pushes forward. Is this sufficient compensation for black for the missing pawn. Anand plays his queen to c3. Another nice little move. Now all that Vishy has to do in some ways is to ensure that Levon does not get too much counterplay. Also, the knight can reroute itself to the e4 square. So check first. Now notice this little trick that Levon has. If you play bishop d3, he's going to play queen c4. The bishop is pinned here and cannot take the queen. So Anand has to be careful here, and he goes king a1. Nice. He's sharp, he's alert, and he plays his king to the side. Levon pushes his pawn further, but that's exactly what Vishy wanted. He now goes to d2, and once his knight settles on the e4 square, it will be a powerful piece, and white can also push forward with the move c5. Levon is struggling to create counterplay. He offers his queen for trading, but that's not what you do when you're material down. Vishy would be more than happy to exchange queens, and I think queen takes a5 is a fine move, but he plays knight e4, which is also a nice move. Pawn takes, and now Levon is a clear pawn down. Knight f4. Do you want to take this knight? Generally, you don't want to, because firstly, it will create an opposite colored bishop position. Secondly, the knight on f4 does look good, but it's not doing much. It's dominated by the bishop on f1. So Vishy picks up the queen. And now, do you take with the bishop or the rook? Levon takes a bit of time, takes it with the rook, trying to stop the move c5, because that's the most dangerous move in the position. How does Vishy make progress is the next question. What do you do here? First, Anand was a bit hesitant there and pushes his pawn to a3. Is his idea in some ways to put his bishop on d2 and then reroute it to b4? Rook b8 played by Levon, but has he allowed the move c5 here? Do you do that? I think Vishy wanted to move his rook, but now suddenly sees that there is an opportunity to push the pawn to c5, because the rook was actually protecting the square. And why did Levon move it away is a big question. And yes, Anand pushes pawn to c5. Vishy does not miss such chances. Take on c5, and now you can take with the bishop or the rook. Both moves seem possible. And Anand is actually looking at what to do. Black might want to come in with his rook here and attack the bishop, but you can simply move the bishop away at that point. He takes rook takes c5. Nice move there, trading the rooks. Rook comes in to b3, and now if you take, if he had taken, he would have taken with the bishop, but now the bishop is attacked. So what do? I like how Anand calmly takes his time before every move, plays his rook to c3. And again, a fantastic move, because if you take, I take with the pawn, and slowly I will have two connected pawns. Levon takes, pawn takes, bishop e7, attacking this pawn on a3. But notice how this bishop has not at all moved in the game, but still plays such an important role, because it controls all these squares of knight and rook. Amazing piece there. Bishop on f1. King comes up to g7. Well, Levon is trying to create some play, but Vishy's pawns are so vicious. They are coming down the board. Pawn to c4. Okay, one problem is that you can't push c5 because it's firmly guarded. So how does Vishy make progress here is the question. First, h6 by Levon. Anand takes it. King takes. And now this next move by Vishy is going to be a pure class act, because see, the bishop can't engineer c5 here. So he goes bishop d2, he changes his tracks, and he's going to go to b4 and then push c5. Isn't that simply amazing play? Rook goes back, bishop comes in, and f5. Levon is moving quickly because he hardly has any time left on the clock. It's 5-second increment per move, but now Vishy can start pushing his pawns. He goes first d6, bishop moves away c5. He doesn't care about his e4 pawn because his pawn in the center are just too strong. F takes e4. Levon is very tricky, so Vishy has to play carefully. But these two pawns are so strong that there is absolutely no way that black can create any counterplay here. He goes knight to d5, attacking the bishop. Does Vishy keep pushing his pawns here? Well, he's planning to finally move his bishop. On move number 41, the bishop moves up, attacks the knight. It has been an amazing piece. Now, attacking the bishop there, bishop moves into e6, and Aronian is pushing his pawn to e3. Well, the idea could be to play e2, bishop h4 and try to control this queening square. But Vishy has it firmly guarded with his bishop and rook here. And now he pushes his pawn to c7. Next move could be d7 at the right time. Right now, or even c8 queen, because the square is guarded by the bishop. He goes e4 with a check. King comes to c2. And Anand picks up the queen. That's always a very nice thing. You see it at school level, you see it at world championship level. Players love to just keep their queen. It's also a subtle statement to their opponent that they are winning. Rook g4, classy move, attacking the bishop and the pawn. Levon resigns. He really didn't have a chance in that game. Vishy played a close